welcome back to another episode of Take two. Welcome back to Real and Real Me, the podcast where I don't know what the hell is happening with this world. It seems like everything's just gonna get burnt to the ground and we're gonna be living in caves. So, what has happened since the last episode? A lot has happened since the last episode, and it just seems to me like this podcast or this brief one to one that has turned into a thing is going to be all about the coronavirus for a while. I have no idea why, but there seems like there's a lot of information out there that not a lot of people are mentioning, especially not the generic news organizations for Lord knows what. But that's where we are. That's what we are undergoing right now, and that is something that we must overcome. A lack of information is worse than anything that anyone's ever experienced before. For those of you wondering what that noise is in the background, that's my dog chasing his own tail. So, we'll leave that there. Anyway, the coronavirus updates. Now, the death toll has officially crossed over 6,400 people worldwide. As I said in the last episode, it is in every continent except for Antarctica now, officially. But there have been a few revelations in my understanding of this. Now, we would start with this that I was looking at, and what I'm going to base a lot of my understanding on. Now, on the screen right now, you guys will be able to see something now. This is CNN. Now, there are a lot of people who are quite skeptical about CNN, but something like the death toll number that I cross-referenced with the WHO site, I am pretty certain that this is pretty accurate. Alright, so that's not something that we need to worry about. But here is where things kind of get concerning for my domestic audience. For those of you who are listening from India, here's where things get iffy. Okay, now I am currently in Maharashtra, which just happens to have the most number of cases of coronavirus as of now. That's 32. Now, if you look at the total number of cases across India, I think there's been somewhere around 110 or so, right? Yeah, 110 cases confirmed. And this is today. That is the 16th of March. Now, 93 of them have been confirmed, 17 have been from foreign nationals, 13 have been cured and discharged. So there's optimism there. And then there's those two deaths that we were talking about. And those are only in Delhi and Karnataka for now, which both have shockingly low number of cases for a death. But yeah, that's what it seems like. Now, the worst part about all of this is the WHO has not officially come out and said that there is a vaccine that you can go and get. There is a medication that you can go and get. It is taking longer than anticipated. It is taking way longer for them, and it is going to be something that's going to be quite recurring. We have always heard this saying from the biggest medical professionals out there, that we don't have to be worried about a lot when it comes to what we can predominantly as in terms of physically do to doom ourselves. But the whole pandemic issue, if we go that route, we can do a lot that can send us down this chain reaction of events that is going to end with human extinction. Now, yes, there are going to be pockets of humanity left no matter what happens. But is that what you believe is going to be the future of us? The progress that we have made in these years, there is no way that we can duplicate said progress if we don't understand that it's bigger than just one tiny little thing. It's not just about survival, it's about prospering through said survival. We were going to be a civilization that's going to be a multi-planetary civilization. We were supposed to be having a lunar base by 85. We were supposed to be on Mars by 2023. And if this wipes all of our brilliant minds out, if this wipes most of the creative geniuses that are required to make those certain leaps, what happens then? Do we go back and then this becomes a distant reality where we were this close, but that's just how close we got, and there was no getting closer? The last time we got a push to be an entire civilization was when the first person set foot on the moon, and that was Neil Armstrong. When that happened, everybody, it was not just a victory for the United States, it was a victory for humanity. He said it's one small step for man, but one giant leap for mankind. That anyone with two brain cells can contemplate that sentence says it all. Humans are not just Americans, humans are everybody. So that collective effort, that collective pride that we felt as a civilization then, it's just hard to understand what it does to motivate people from all across the globe. You're talking about the entire population of the world that you can call human being inspired by one particular moment in time. One particular moment in time. That doesn't come often. And unfortunately, that was a moment of success that came out of us venturing towards said success. This is coming out of a time of need. This is coming out of a time of contemplation about this really needs humans to come together and get behind. And that's why I would like to mention the WHO and the United Nations partnership for a solidarity response fund. Now, for those of you who don't understand the concept of the UN organizing a fund, don't they have all the money in the world? Well, they don't. Now, this is the first time in a long time, or if ever, that the United Nations has openly put together a campaign in which private individuals as well as major corporations can get behind. They can put their money, they can put their assets where their so-called mouths are when they go on Twitter and say all of these things about we stand with humans, we stand for everyone suffering, we understand this is the time for unity, we need to understand one another, share your resources, all of that. Stand behind what your social media campaign says. Now, half of these people who make the decisions don't even know about what the social media campaign says, but whatever. Now's the time for you to take some responsibility, alright? Every major league out there has suspended their season. Every major event has been cancelled. Every major social gathering has been cancelled. People are strictly staying home. Now, self-isolation is a very good idea for those of you feeling even a little bit under the weather, because let's not forget the flu season is still about, right? There's a drastic weather change still going around. That was a truck. I can't help it. There's a road right here. What do you want me to do? The drastic weather change is still going around. That just leaves a huge barrage of us exposed to the common cold, the flu. And everyone just freaks out if you have a cold or if you have fever right now. But you need to understand that there's a difference between you being exposed to corona and you understanding that you have a common cold. How? You still self-isolate, because you better be safe than sorry, yeah? It makes sense to stay at home and then do whatever you want to do from home rather than assuming, not everything needs to be laid down in tiny little sentences and spoon fed to the people to be understood. There's some things that are implied, and those of you who can contemplate the fact that this is logical information that you should know yourself, considering it's an airborne, very communicable disease. We all learned 8th grade science, people. The entire point is you need to be smarter, you need to be more aware, and you need to take extra precautions to ensure the fact that there is minimal exposure. I will link this response fund down below. the minimal contribution would be effective towards an international effort right now. All of these funds that the WHO raises, essentially, they are all going to be going to countries to battle this pandemic. It's going to be a collective effort that the world stands behind, separate from the United Nations relief funds. Those are different. This is purely for the coronavirus. And anybody who's anything should donate to this. The bigger the better. But for those of us rather, who can't go that extravagant with their donations, even $500 in Indian currency goes a long way. That's all that I'm going to say on this. And I'm going to link it down below. For those of you who choose to donate, for those of you who believe that, yeah, you should give it a shot, for those of you listening to this, just make sure that you head on over to that website and give it a run through. Just read through the page. If you believe it's convincing, consider donating. And we'll leave it at that. Now, I will move on to a topic that is going to slightly elongate this podcast, because I said that we're going to keep it to 12 minutes, but I have to talk about this. Now, the United States is being blamed for the origins of the coronavirus by the Chinese people, now by the Chinese officials rather, not the people. It's a new story that borderlines, well, conspiracy theory, but it holds some ground considering the fact that the United States did send I don't know, a collective of around how many athletes was that? 280 athletes, 17 teams went to Wuhan, China. Now, Wuhan was the place where everybody believes the coronavirus originated, right? This is where it came from, according to people. The wet markets of Wuhan, China. That's also kind of iffy, and we'll get to that. But this is rather shocking. So there were these military world games in Wuhan, China, apparently, and there were 280 athletes that went from the United States down to China for said competitions, and all of this went down. No cases were reported to be that rampant as of then, because everything was being suppressed. But this did happen, and now, context. Republicans, you know how they are with speech, right? You can say Democrats are more, hush hush with their words. Let's not offend anybody. Republicans are more, I will say what I need to say, kind of rhetoric. So, a Republican congressperson, you can say, wait, hold on. Let me get my facts straight, right? I'm not just gonna say. Someone used the word Chinese virus, right? Now, I understand that people believe that it originated in China, and most likely it did originate in China, but calling it a Chinese virus is, yeah, that's a little, it's a little divisive. You're kind of creating division amongst people of the world by saying that it's one specific type of people, apparently, that are responsible for so many deaths across the globe, so responsible for a pandemic, essentially. I mean, that's kind of unfair. So that's essentially the bottom line. That so Secretary of State, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Now, look, I'm not gonna claim like I know American politics. I don't even know what a Secretary of State is, except for the fact that I've seen those movies in which Secretary of State makes a lot of calls. So essentially, the head of the Pentagon, I guess. I'm not really sure. Whatever. Someone big, someone higher up. Let's say higher up in the state. Okay. Let's just start over. I don't want to cause confusion with my statement. So we're gonna take this simple, right? Someone in the government of Donald Trump, who was in charge, essentially, said that this is the Wuhan virus, and then someone underneath him went a step ahead and said it's the Chinese virus, And then that rhetoric became a thing. And then in the rallies, they just kept saying that over and over again. In these Republican conventions, it just kept being said. I mean, it just kept being said over and over again to the point in which it became, for a lot of people, the Chinese virus. Which, of course, goes to show why it would make a huge difference to the people of China to be kind of offended by this, because it's not their fault. No one intentionally starts a virus that turns into a pandemic. I am not sure that someone's sitting in a dark, hollowed out mountain rubbing their hands at night being like, hey, I'm going to create the next virus. I mean, supervillains do exist, but to this level, I don't know. But with that being a very good transition to the fact that there has been rhetoric out there, let's say, about this being a bioweapon. Now, this doesn't hold much ground, and just like this conspiracy theory that I just mentioned about the Chinese blaming the United States as sending this virus over through their troops, it's all a little up in the air right about now, but that's just what it is. And a bioweapon could be a possibility because Wuhan is known for the development of a lot of military equipment for China. Now, considering the facts that this is a very real thing and that people are suffering through this across the globe, I don't think it should be something that you go out of your way to tag as reality as of now, unless there is more facts that come out about this. For now, it's a thing that you should be aware of, that it could be something that a bioweapon that just gets out of control can cause, and the future in which bioweapons are a very real thing. It should be a thought-provoking moment for all, considering the fact that this is a virus that could be a lot worse than it is right now. All of this just adds to the equation that we need to be more aware, rather, more conscious, and more understanding of the fact that there are things that you can do and then there are things that you can't do in such scenarios. Going to supermarkets and wiping them clean, not leaving anything for anybody else, not one of the things that you should be doing. Panicking so much so that you drain every single resource that was available for the community for yourself because you want to stack up. I understand the sentiment behind it because you're being afraid. You're being prepared. I get it. You don't have to be prepared to the point in which this is a nuclear apocalypse. It is a virus. We understand that it's communicable. We understand that it's spreading rampantly. Okay. It's a call for concern. It's not, however, a call for rampant impromptu behavior that just makes you not consider anything else except for your own personal requirements, which is just kind of iffy. Do you really need 500 rolls of toilet paper? How many shits are you taking, dude? How many shits are you freaking taking? And if you're in India and you're going to a supermarket and buying toilet paper, dude, a jet spray works wonders. Try it. And worse comes to worse, even if you're in the United States and you're listening to this, try a bucket of water with a mug. It'll work way better than toilet paper, I assure you that. Yeah, it's a little messy, but you get the hang of it and then it's not messy anymore. You know what you're doing. So I'm gonna deviate away from the talking about how to take a shit and how to clean yourself up afterwards. Bit of a light mood to end on, to know the fact that we don't have to all be crying wolf. We understand that we all need to be concerned, and we are. But let's just stay optimistic. Let's stay a community first and foremost. Let's not forget that humans are humans first, and we aren't individuals who are just going to run around the place trying to save your own heads while the community falls down. No, be a responsible member of society. help someone who needs help, maintain your own hygiene, and you should be fine. Right? At the first signs of anything going wrong, make sure you go check yourself out. Go to a medical professional. Get checked by the right specialists. Consider going to an ENT if you have elongated coughs. Go and get yourself checked if you believe that you need to. Self-isolate, because right now is the time that couldn't go wrong. There's a lot on Netflix, there's a lot on Amazon Prime, there's a lot on Sony Live, there's a lot on Hulu, there's a lot on YouTube, there's a lot on everywhere. Social media, all of that jazz. Stay indoors when you can. If you need to step out, step out. Do your thing. Stay safe. Right, people? That's the most important thing right now. I will see you guys real soon. Keep an eye on this space.